Dear students, hope you are all well. Today we will begin with the first chapter in history, that is sources of history. Now, as you know, our Indian history is divided into three periods. They are ancient, medieval, and modern period. We are going to learn about the medieval period in this whole class. And we are going to learn about the medieval period. That is starting from the 9th century to the 18th century. Now, this has been told you from 2 years ago. History means about past, what has happened or what may have happened in the past. This is called history. Now, in the sixth standard, also, you all learned about these four factors that which is in the third paragraph. Four factors. They are called as a four pillars of history. Now, without this, history would not have been possible. Now, what are they? They are individual, society, place, and time. Now, whenever history takes place, it takes place in a particular place, and it should have the particular timing of that, and it should be in a society, particular society, and it is held by a particular individual, that means by a person. Now we'll move forward. There are three types of sources that we are going to learn in this chapter. They are material, written, and oral sources. So, before moving forward, nowadays, see, we are all locked in our homes, but still we are getting information about the happenings around the world. Now, how are we getting that information? How are we getting that information? How many cases are there today? How are we getting that information? We are getting that information through a medium or a way of things. We are getting that information. Now, what is that source we are getting from? We are getting it from the television. By watching TV, we get to know, we get the information. So, that is called a source. Okay, so we will learn about these three sources in detail. Let's move forward. The first sources we will learn about is the material sources. Now let's see what are material sources. Foods have an important place among material sources. So, among the material sources, foods have an important place. Now, why foods have an important place? Because it gives the development of architecture. Now, what's the meaning of architecture? Architecture means a type of buildings or constructions that were there during the ancient period. That means in the olden period. Example, if you go to a VT station, you will see that it is a different type of structure. It was built during the British rule, but now you will see there are skyscrapers. Now, what are skyscrapers? Tall buildings. Okay, they all provides insights about that period. Looking at them, we come to know about the development of architecture, how the architecture is, the economic conditions, the quality of art, the different styles of the building. As you can see in the second picture, the style of the building. What is it? It's a monument shaped, it's a dome shaped. Okay, so there are different styles, and people's standard of living means what type of people were living during that particular period. Let's move forward. Now, as we learned in the before slide, forts had an important place in the material sources. Same way, coins also had an important place in the material sources. The coin made by different rulers using metals like gold, silver, copper are important sources of history. Now, in the ancient time, you might be knowing there were coins made of gold, silver, and copper. In the ancient time, even our coins, the rupees, they were also made of gold, silver, and copper. But now, are they made of? No, they are not made of gold and silver, right? From these coins, we learn about the rulers, their period, the governance, religious ideas, and the personal details. All everything was inscribed on these coins before in the ancient times. Let's move forward. The next is written sources. We learn about significant historical events in the medieval period from sources like the writing styles of scripts like Devanagari, Arabic, Persian, Modi, etc. Now, when we talk about Modi, Modi is a Marathi pronunciation, okay, used to write Marathi language. Modi was also an official script used to write Marathi until the 20th century. Now we can gather information about the food items, the attire. Attire means the clothes which they wear, conventions and rules of conduct of the people's festivals and about people's life, etc. from these sources. Sources of these types are called written sources of history. Now look at that diagram which is there. In that, documents of proceedings in the courts of kings. Now, in written sources, there are things such as documents of the courts of kings. Now, in the ancient period or the medieval period, that period was of the king rule. They used to rule, and their documents have been preserved in the court, means kept in the court and kept. That is a written sources, right? It is preserved and kept. It is written, so that comes under written sources. Next, next is travelogues of foreign travelers. You can see there, it's there. Now, travelogue of foreign travelers. So many foreign travelers came to India to study. Okay, they came to India to study. What they came to study? The culture and history of India, and they have written their travelogues. Means they have written their experience. So that also comes under written sources of history. Next also is there about biographies. Now biographies are written materials about great persons such as Baba's biography. We will learn in the next slide. Then judicial and office orders, verdicts. Orders, verdicts means decision given by the judiciary. Now these all sources are also in the written sources. Let's move forward. Now, during this period, travelers from other countries came to India. Just now, as I told you, they came to India so to study the culture and history of India. So they wrote down what was their experience. Then the Babur's biography, Shiv Bharat, or the Sanskrit biography of Shivaji Maharaj, composed by the poet Parmanand, as well as various other biographies of different rulers and their correspondence, helps us to understand the policies and administrative system of the rulers and the diplomatic relation with others. Now, what are some examples of written sources? They are manuscripts, autobiography, official documents, inscriptions, diary entries, and newspapers and journals, etc. These are all examples of written sources. Let's move forward. Now, the next is oral sources. Now, what are oral sources? Oral sources are those which are spoken or told and are passed from one generation to another. Now, we understand various aspects of folk life through folk literature, traditionally passed on from generation to generation. Some examples are OVs, folk songs, povadas, folk tales, legends, and myths. Such types of sources are called as oral sources of history. Now, what are OVs? OVs is nothing but the person who sing the songs of God. Okay. Povadas are Marathi poems. Abhangas is a form also of a Marathi poetry. Myths are mythological stories. Legends are ancient stories. Okay, so these all come under oral sources of history. Let's move forward. History is not written with the help of material, written, and oral sources. As we learned just now, history is written with the material, written, and oral sources. Even after it has been written down, research goes on it continuously. Even it has been written, the research is still going on continuously. New sources and information come to light. There are new information, new sources which comes to light. Through this research, history has been written accordingly to this. Let's move forward. Next is evaluating the sources of history. Now, following precautions has to be taken care of. First is, it is necessary to take certain precautions before using these sources of history. What we have to do? We have to examine their authenticity, means the quality of being real or true. It has to be. And see which are genuine and which are fake. The next is their quality can be determined with the help of internal standards. Then next is we also have to study the integrity of the writers, their personal interests, the period in which they live, and the political pressure on them. Integrity of the writers means they should be honest while writing history. How is their personal interest? Okay, do they have interest in writing or do they don't have? We have to see that also. Then the next is it is also important to see whether they rely on hearsay or give an eyewitness account. Hearsay means do they rely on information received from other people, like rumors passed by other people, or do they rely on other people or they rely on themselves? Okay, that is Hershey, or give an eyewitness. Next is author's impartiality and neutrality are very important in writing history. The last point says author's impartiality means it should be an equal treatment. Okay, impartiality and neutrality. Neutrality means also equal treatment should be given while writing history. Let's move forward. That is your homework, is you have to find the answers of these questions. The first one is what are the four factors important from the viewpoint of history? Second one is what is meant by oral sources? Third is what are the examples of written sources? And the fourth one is history gives us a dash, dash and dash accounts of past. That's all for now. The chapter ends over here. Thank you for listening. Children, goodbye. Take care.